Hello, this is Roland Trujillo. I would like to talk to you today about movement. I'm reading here from a little book called Le Moyen Cours, which is the short and easy method of prayer by Madame Guyon, famous spiritual classic. In English, it's often called Finding God Through Prayer, Practicing the Presence of God, Experiencing God Through Prayer. The idea is to sit quietly before God, to sit quietly and realize God's presence, to realize God, to experience God. Now, in life, let's see if I can put it in simple terms. Life is a movement. All of life is movement, isn't it? When the organism becomes completely still without any movement, without any heartbeat or blood flow, for example, it's dead. Life is movement, continuous movement. In fact, the whole universe is movement. The stars are moving, the atoms, the electrons are spinning. Everything is moving constantly. The waves of the ocean, the wind, the leaves on a tree, and life itself, the seed, the plant. There's constant movement within the cells and between the cells. Oh, endless movement. Now, for human beings, there's another kind of movement. It's a movement toward God or away from God. And the movement toward God, paradoxically, takes place by becoming still. And the movement away from God is through endless acts and worries and cares and thoughts and reaching. Endless reaching for this and reaching for that and doing this and doing that. Endlessly fussing. And endlessly thinking one thought and another thought, and what will I do and what will I eat, and why did he say that and why did she do that, and endless. It's fatiguing, isn't it? How about endless study? And all of these goals, which are not really your goals, are a movement towards something, aren't they? But they're a movement away from God. Movement away from God. And that is why the more you reach for goals, the busier you are. Not that we don't have to do things. Of course, we have to work. We have to cook. We have to clean our house. We have to take care of our children. Of course, there are things that we must do, but we must make sure that those are done. Those are done spontaneously and intuitively with an energy of love flowing from within. See, when something begins in stillness and then flows forth, then it begins with God, with God's approval, and it extends, and it's all good. It's like the child is born from stillness, from the still womb. The child comes forth. The seed is in the ground still, and life comes forth. Now, it's a very subtle point, but I'd like for you to possibly see it if you could. All of these movements, and you see people been worried and fussing, rushing around, rushing for no reason. Endlessly talking, endlessly gossiping. Where do all of these movements begin? They began with ambition. In the Garden of Eden, Adam inclined toward the word that he heard, the spoken word, the tease, the temptation, the challenge of the spoken word, saying to him, hey, you can be great through ambition, through goals, through education, through knowledge. You can be a god, solve all your own problems. And he listened. So his first movement was one of inclining toward it. The next movement was of listening to it. Then the next movement was toward it, to getting to, how can I say this, to cohabit with it, to entertain it. See? And that led to doubting what he knew in his heart. See? And then he reached, and then what was next? Well, then he reached, or Adam, or Eve reached, and he ate of the forbidden food. So you see all these movements began with very subtle movements, but movements away from what he knew in his heart, away from God. See? To try something on his own, like a little kid going down to the kitchen. I heard a cute joke. Mom baked some cookies, put them in the cookie jar in the kitchen, and then that evening she was up in her bedroom and she heard noise down in the kitchen. She said, "What's going on? Is that you, Johnny?" And Johnny said, "It's me." And she said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm fighting temptation." Okay? Well, there's more movement again, isn't it? Movement toward temptation and then trying to fight it. So actually, if you look carefully, you'll see that the beginning of this movement is inclining, listening, entertaining, reaching, eating, etc. Began with temptation, began with the stimulus. The stimulus was the temptation. And that stimulus then led to movement. So that was the beginning. So do you see how a whole different life, a life beginning with a stimulus, a challenge, a tease, that leads to a whole different kind of life. A life of being driven, of being pulled, of movement without real rest. It's movement and fatigue, movement and fatigue. But movement that begins with God, begins in stillness, and then goes forth for something productive, for something good, for something that began in good, and with the energy of love. And you don't feel tired. You flow, you're not tired. And it's a movement that begins in stillness and then rest. Movement and then rest. But the rest is good rest, because the good rest, see, this movement from God, see, when you never move away from God. See, you're not really moving. How can I say this? You're not edging away from God. You're not farther and farther away from God. The soul, close to intuition, close to the inner light, close to God, praying unceasingly, wanting to do God's will, loving God, wanting to be close to God. See, that soul is always, each new beginning is from the beginning. Each movement is from that timeless place of stillness. So it's like it's a spontaneous good that is an unfolding. Whereas the other movement, which is the one that most of us, the only movement that we know, most people, The only movement they know is toward stimulus, toward something, some goal. And then when they become fatigued and tired and drained and unhappy from their goal seeking, then they set another goal of finding pleasure, of finding more excitement, of setting a different goal. And then they keep moving. And always it's always away from God, away from the center. See? So you must refine the center. You must refine your inner ground of good. It said, Christ said, the kingdom of God is within. You must find the kingdom of God, that timeless, still center. See, all of time and movement and space, time, space, matter, they all came forth from the timeless realm. Time came from timelessness. See, movement came from stillness. And the ultimate rest frame, see, the ultimate rest frame is not a rest frame within the bounds of physics. The ultimate rest frame is outside of time. It's before time. It's before movement, but it's still there. Can you see how God is there, how timelessness coexists with time, how the universe continues to unfold, each day refreshed, each day renewed from the timeless realm? So, now do you understand why people like Madame Guyon or Teresa of Avila or St. John of the Cross or Miguel Molinos or Thomas à Kempis or Brother Lawrence, St. Ignatius, people like that? Now do you see why they talked about becoming still, recollecting one's soul, and finding the presence of God? Reconnecting with that timeless realm within. See, your soul is in the body, but your soul belongs to the timeless realm, of which and the creator of your soul, the parent of your soul is God. So you must refine him, but you won't refine him by moving outward. So let me end with this, because this is good. This is another point which could be very helpful. So if somebody tempts you to study, challenges you to study, even religious study, they say study more religion, more theology, read the Bible more, try more, try to be better, pray more, get a master's degree in theology. See, do you see how these are all, memorize a Bible verse every day, go out and witness and try to convert someone every day. See, try to build your kid's character. Give up this and give up that. See? Do you see how these are external people on the outside are challenging you, tempting you, teasing you? And so all it is, it's the same thing that happened in the Garden of Eden. See, I remember a man said something that was very, very good. He said, the devil forces you to be good. See, God permits you to make mistakes. The devil forces you to be good. So can you see how the unholy spirit, the unwholesome spirit, the spirit of ambition, see, of goal setting, do you see how it can operate through anything? It can operate through religion. can you see how those are movement toward goals farther and farther away from the center? So let all these challenges go. Sit quietly. See, can you see how there's such a thing as religious ambition, educational ambition, achievement ambition? See, on the face of it, you would think, well, it's nice to do some nice things. Well, maybe it is, but it all depends on what the beginning of it is. The beginning must be from the still center, from God, from intuition, from what you know in your heart wordlessly, from being still, then moving forth. But when you move that way, you don't even know what you don't. I was going to say you don't know what you're doing, but in a way you don't. You haven't set any goals. You're not planning to do something to somebody and trying to make yourself look good or improve yourself. All you do is you just take one step and then another step and another step. See? And you are led that way to what's good, what's right, what's wholesome. And then if you're led to read something, read a little bit from the Bible, not too much, or to read some science, or to help someone. See? It's not because you had a goal. It's because it's the next right thing that flows from what you know in your heart. See? You see the difference? So there's a difference between being industrious and being ambitious. Being industrious is when you are moving forward, you don't have a goal, you want to do what's right, you're always checking with your conscience, and you move forward and there's an opportunity, and well, you're not being held back, then you delicately move toward that. Ambition is reaching for something, some goal. See? So there's a big difference between doing something. Christ said, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. See? You just do something. You get up, you do something. And it flows naturally. And it's beautiful. Here's a very beautiful verse from the Gospel of Thomas. The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us, how will our end come?" Jesus said, "Have you found the beginning then, that you are looking for the end? You see, the end will be where the beginning is. Congratulations to the one who stands at the beginning. That one will know the end and will not taste death." So Christ said, when you have found the beginning, okay, then from that beginning, see, everything will unfold to the proper ending. So you have to stand at the beginning.